What's up, everyone? Back for another beer review, and today is Wednesday, which of course means it's time for another Western New York Wednesday here on the channel. And the beer I'm reviewing today comes from the Flying Bison Brewing Company, and they're out of Buffalo, New York. And this is their Paula's Holy Cannoli Blonde Ale. So on the label, they're calling this one a malt beverage with natural flavors. What this actually is an Imperial Blonde Ale that is brewed with vanilla, cinnamon, nutmeg, lactose, and cacao nibs. Comes in at 8% alcohol by volume. No IBUs listed in time of review. I don't know exactly how old this bottle is, but this one was just released recently. So this is definitely under a month old at the time of review, and it's probably more in the 2 to 3 week range, so pretty fresh. Anyway, this is the second collaboration between Flying Bison and Paula's Donuts. The first one was their peanut stick porter, which I reviewed and I thought was pretty good. Could have used a little bit more of like a sweetness to it, a little bit more pastry vibes to it. So this one, Imperial Blonde Ale, 8%, and then all of those adjuncts. On the side here, it says like a cannoli in a glass. Holy cannoli combines hints of pastry crust, vanilla cream, cocoa, cinnamon, and nutmeg, 8%. And yeah, not much more to say. Now, I bought a 6-pack of this mostly because I didn't find it in Signals, and I was at Wegmans. It was cheap. It was $8.99 a 6-pack, and I'm like, 8% pastry beer? Sure, why not? And I like the Paula's Peanut Stick Porter, and I know my dad would like this one, and he has drank 3 bottles of this already, and he really enjoys it. So, yeah, let's just say, I'm not saying I have high hopes, but I'm hoping that I enjoy this one. I love Paula's Donuts, my favorite donuts in the area. Love cannolis, so hopefully I love this beer. Guess we'll see. Let's give it a pour. So yeah, that's pouring out like a blonde ale. Yeah, so we'll go like that. Throw this over here like this. So yeah, that pours out like a blonde ale. Definitely crystal clear, like a golden blonde color. Decent carbonation, about a half finger of this off-white, slightly creamy looking head. But yeah, that looks like a blonde ale. Whether or not it's imperialized, yeah, definitely looks like one. Let's get nose. Getting the vanilla, getting the nutmeg. Getting a slight, kind of like blonde ale base. There's a little bit of like a slight citrus component. Touch of like a biscuity malt profile. And a slight bitterness, like a slight hop kind of bitterness in the nose. Wouldn't say like resinous hot or like resinous pine or anything like that. It's just like slight generic, like almost earthy bitterness. This does not smell like a huge pastry beer to me. And it doesn't smell like a cannoli. It actually smells like an Imperial Blonde Ale that maybe you added a little bit of vanilla to. Maybe a hint of lactose. The nose isn't bad. It's just not kind of what I expected. So let's get into it. Cheers, everybody. It's fine, but I'm trying to think if I can, actually say this tastes like a cannoli of any sort. A little bit. First things first, 8%, it's touch thin. This is like medium body at best. It's more like lighter side of medium body. The mouthfeel, relatively soft and smooth. Decent carbonation, not really creamy. I was hoping for a little bit more creaminess from the lactose that they're adding in here. Touch of creaminess, but more of like a nice crispness. A little bit of a soft, smooth component. Body mouthfeel, solid. Okay, I'm fine with it. The taste, definitely vanilla, definitely cinnamon. I wasn't even getting that in the nose, but it's translating quite well. Nutmeg, a little bit of vanilla. Pretty much picking up everything. So they say what? Pastry crust, vanilla cream, cocoa, cinnamon, nutmeg. Getting the cinnamon, nutmeg, getting the vanilla. Cocoa, maybe. Pastry crust, a little bit. It's kind of mixing in with that Imperial Blonde Ale base that has like a biscuity, almost bready type of thing going on. So right up front, it's sweeter malt character. Biscuity malt character, vanilla. They say vanilla cream, sure, but vanilla. But as it starts passing through the palate, the cinnamon hits, the nutmeg hits, and that really carries on to the back of the palate, and it kind of dries out the palate. This is a semi-dry finish. There is a decent residual sweetness here, but it also is fighting the semi-dried, almost full-on dry finish from the cinnamon itself, and maybe just the alcohol too. I really don't taste the alcohol. That's one thing about this beer. A little bit of warming in the chest. On the palate, no, I would guess like 6.5, 7. The one thing I would say about this beer is that it's sweet. I definitely pick up the blonde ale base, but it doesn't taste like a cannoli to me. It just doesn't. I mean, it happens. Maybe for some other people out there, you can pick up on like the cannoli taste. For me, it just tastes like an adjunct Imperial Blonde Ale. Like I taste the vanilla, the cinnamon, the nutmeg. Sure, I get all those. Don't get the cacao or the cocoa. I certainly don't get the pastry crust outside of like the beginning of it being more of that biscuity, bready, sweeter malt character. Maybe that's where they're saying, hey, that's where it comes in. Pour the rest in just in case. Let all the goodies there at the bottom, which they're probably not in a beer like this. This is not bad or anything. It's just holy cannoli. You call a beer a holy cannoli blonde ale. I get the blonde ale base or Imperial Blonde Ale base, but I'm not getting the cannoli aspect. I'm getting hints of the cannoli, not a full-on cannoli. This isn't a bad beer, but this is also a beer that I don't think represents what they're saying to a T. I do like the Paula's Peanut Stick Porter more than this one. I think that one hit more of like actual peanut stick in porter form, and I don't more so than this one hits on a cannoli in Imperial Blonde Ale form. So I will give a rating on Paula's Holy Cannoli Blonde Ale from a Flying Bison. I can give it just, best I can do is a straight 3.5 out of 5. It's not a bad beer. It's certainly a drinkable beer. It's a beer I have no really big issues with, like as far as like how it's made. There's no off flavors. There's nothing that's bad about this beer to me. It's just, it didn't exactly nail what I was hoping it would nail. I love cannolis. And blonde ales or whatever, I don't mind. It's not like my favorite style, but whatever. Blonde ales are fine. So you're doing Imperial Blonde Ale, you're trying to, basically do a cannoli in Imperial Blonde Ale form, and I don't think it reached that level for me. So at the end of the day, 3.5 out of 5 is the best I can do. Now, price and availability. Price on this, $8.99 a six-pack. For a beer that's 8%, has all those adjuncts, solid beer, I think that's a good value. Availability, Western New York. If you see Flying Bison beers, then you'll see this beer specifically at Wegmans. Like I said, $8.99 a six-pack. If you're just curious to maybe try this one out for $9, you get six-pack of a beer that's 8%. At the very least, you'll feel good. But yeah, I think if you pick this one up because you're like, oh man, I love cannolis and I'm going to give this a go and I want to support local and all that stuff, I think you'll be slightly disappointed. Maybe not though. Again, if you've had this one before, let me know what you think about it, especially if you're here in the Western New York area. I'd be curious because the feedback on that Peanut Stick Porter was pretty positive. And again, I think I give it like a 3.75, 3.85. I liked it more than this one. I just didn't think I think you need more sweetness to kind of get to that peanut stick kind of realm. And I think with this one, there's enough sweetness here. I think they actually did a good job with the sweetness of this one. I just don't think the adjunct portion to get a cannoli in an Imperial Blonde Ale form, I don't think they did all that great of a job. But again, I mean, it's tough. I've never had a beer that tries to mimic a cannoli in any kind of beer form. So at the end of the day, I don't have really anything to base this off of other than my own opinion. And my own opinion is it's a solid beer. I'll drink the rest of it. I don't have any issues, finishing this off and, enjoying it to a certain degree. But I wish they would have done a little better job. But at the end of the day, whatever. It's tough. It's tough to brew beer, especially something like this, I think. So they did a solid job with it, but could have done better, in my opinion. But anyway, again, if you have this one before, let me know what you think about it. Appreciate everybody stopping by for another beer review and another Western New York Wednesday. Be on the lookout next week for another installment. And until then, cheers.